everyone, I'm Anna, and if you don't know, I scored a 1600 on my September SAT somehow, and I'm here to pass on all my tips to you guys. Now I have a general overview of my SAT journey and specific videos on all the different sections, but today I'm going to be focusing on writing. In my opinion, out of all the sections, this one's the easiest to improve on if you're struggling with, so stay tuned. The first thing to know is a little bit about the basics of grammar. We're going to go through a crash course of all the main grammar rules right now, but before this, it's essential that you know exactly what makes a sentence, and that you're able to identify things like nouns, verbs, and adjectives pretty easily. I'll recommend some Schoolhouse Rock if you'd like to brush up on the basics. The easiest questions to improve on here would be knowing the difference between it's and its, there, effect versus affect, your versus your, and fewer versus less if you're getting those things wrong. If in doubt, expand the apostrophe into it is and say it in your mind to see if it makes sense still. Also, effect is a noun and affect in this case is the verb, so something affecting something else would cause an effect. Fewer is for actually countable things, while less is for more abstract things that you can't really quantify. Sentence fragments are phrases that aren't real sentences. They're going to be missing either a subject or a verb or something in there. Like sentences that start with but or another conjunction. And that last sentence I just said. And this one. Those sentences don't include verbs, and even though it makes sense in a casual context, they're not really good when writing, so automatically get rid of any of those you see in your answer choices. The opposite of a sentence fragment is a run-on sentence. These are basically two full sentences pasted together without the right punctuation. There are a few main ways to avoid these. A period or exclamation point or question mark, first of all, is probably the easiest way. A semicolon is the same thing as those, but it keeps them within the same sentence. But it's kind of unnecessary, and a lot of people misuse it as a comma, so don't do that. If you see a semicolon, you should be able to substitute a period for it and have no sentence fragments. The fancier way to fix a run-on sentence is with a comma and a conjunction. If you see just a comma in between two full sentences, that's a red flag, and you'll need to replace it with either a semicolon, period, or add an and right after it. Colons and dashes are interchangeable, except colons are used for when you're really trying to point something out, like giving an example or something. Both are more like commas than semicolons, so there don't have to be full sentences afterwards. Also know that this is called an appositive. Actually, you don't have to know the name. Just know that if there's a thing surrounded by commas or dashes that's giving a little bit of extra detail, it can be taken out of the sentence and still be grammatically correct. This is important because when you're considering which verb a thing is affecting, don't consider the appositive. Also, the two punctuations it's surrounded by have to match each other. Next, the other big important grammar rule that applies to this entire section is that when there's a list of something, the format should match. This is called parallel structure. Saying, my mom likes cooking, going on walks, and shows on Netflix, that's not good. You use cooking and going, but then there's no third ing verb, but instead it's the noun shows. You should change them to match each other. In this case, the easiest way to do that is saying watching shows on Netflix. So look out for when lists of things don't seem to match each other's formats. It gets trickier with questions like this. For centuries, cats have guarded this famous museum, ridding it of mice, rats, and other rodents that could damage the art, not to mention blank off visitors. I would always confuse whether it was talking about the mice or the cats, but it really helps to take the whole sentence into context. Would the cats really be scaring off visitors if they were put there to ward off the mice? No, the mice are the ones scaring people. So you have to make the structure the same according to the damage the mice are doing, not the cats doing the ridding. This may seem pretty obvious now, but sometimes it's not when you're in a rush, so take the time to actually comprehend all the sentences when you're going through this section. The final big grammar thing is knowing what all these words mean. They'll all be used at the beginning of sentences to transition, but they all kind of mean different things. Likewise is the same as saying similarly, nevertheless is like despite the odds, moreover is additionally, and however is a fancier but. Khan Academy has pretty good practice on this. Basically, read the two sentences you're trying to connect and figure out what their relationship is. And if two of the answer choices mean the same thing, you know it can't be either one of them. Now, that's my little crash course on grammar, and you can find lots more resources online and all that good stuff, but now let's get into the slightly more subjective questions. Spoiler alert, a great rule of thumb is to always pick the shortest and most normal sounding answer if in doubt. Any answer choice that mentions something like the great annual fall harvest which happened yearly. That's going to be wrong because it's repetitive and redundant. This automatically eliminates a ton of answer choices for a ton of the questions. Oftentimes, this means the most concise answer is going to be the correct one. Here's a real test example. The pattern box observed in 2012 may repeat itself again, with harmful effects on the Arctic ecosystem. And the answer choices are, it may repeat itself possibly, may repeat itself again, or may repeat itself with damage and harmful effects. Now, all of those repeat parts of the sentence. How fitting. My general rule is if I don't know what a word means or I wouldn't use it in an essay, I don't pick it. There are going to be the way too casual sounding answer choices, which have words like things, stuff, or they include slang or sound too much how you would talk in an everyday conversation or to a young child. The other end of this is words like opine, neophyte, and decreed that are going way too overboard with the formality and old-sounding English, and they just stick out if you use them in the passage. Plug in each answer choice in your head, and the one that sounds the most normal is gonna be the one that matches the tone of the passage. This goes beyond replacing just phrases and words too. Like, the more concise and normal an answer choice sounds, the more right it's gonna be. Here we have, but more pragmatically, the discipline encourages students to analyze complex material, question conventional beliefs, and express thoughts in a concise manner. We have the option to replace this with, but speaking in a more pragmatic way, but speaking in a way more pragmatically, or but in a more pragmatic speaking way. All of these just add unnecessary words and sound increasingly ridiculous and awkward. Our original got to the point faster, and we aren't losing anything by keeping it just more pragmatically. I've already mentioned this a whole bunch, but one of the goals to keep in mind is selecting the shortest answer that does the job. All of these combine the underlined portion into one sentence, but when they say most effective, they mean the one that prevents repetition and does it in the smoothest way. In this case, just saying as measured by standardized test scores is much more efficient than even mentioning the word results at all. Ordering the sentences properly is going to be one of the hardest things this section will throw at you. Just be sure when you finish and think you have a correct answer, just read the paragraph in the order that you're about to choose and make sure that no content is talked about in depth before it's introduced in the paragraph. Okay, final tip is about whether the writer should add information or not. And this is as tricky as it gets. Generally, if the little tidbit they want to add is just adding random information about some detail that isn't related to the focus of the passage, then it shouldn't be added. Usually this will take the form of some unexplained tangent. Like, oh yeah, philosophy can be useful in lots of other subject areas. And by the way, Plato was a philosopher who wrote some dialogues. But anyway, yeah, philosophy is useful in the workforce. Like, it's kind of jarring just to hear a random fact about Plato in the middle of that. Only if it's necessary in understanding what comes after and provides helpful context should it be added. Always actually read the passage and keep in mind the paragraphs before and after the one you're reading, and how the sentences should transition smoothly and make sense, and that should help you with including or deleting questions and ordering the sentences properly. Wow, okay, so we went through a lot there, and there's probably some I missed, but you're probably sick of hearing me ramble, so that's gonna be it for now. Check out the rest of my SAT series if you want help with the other sections too, and be sure to like and subscribe for more. Post any tips you have in the comments below, and have a great day. Bye!